So pleased to welcome to the show our next guest. She's in our virtual green room right now. Her name is Lorrie Blitch, and she has such an incredible background, and she's written a fabulous book that we're going to talk about, Sapphire, A Life That Almost Wasn't. Let that pique your interest. But first, let's talk about her background. Lorrie, thanks so much for jumping on the show with us, and you have such an interesting background certainly in the healthcare business and with some other things that you've done as well. So I wanted to start there. Let's talk about that.
Well, thank you, Kate, for reaching out to me to be on your show. It's quite an honor. Well, I'm a business owner for the past 20 years. I own Magellan Christian Academies. It's in the Mesa Gilbert area in Phoenix, Arizona. And it's a school with about 180 students currently that I have, and staff about 20. My schools have won numerous awards. One particular award I'm proud of is the declaration of Magellan Day in Jacksonville, Florida, by the mayor. So that was quite an honor to receive that. And I'm also a nurse educator responsible for the education of multiple service lines at Banner Gateway Medical Center and Banner MD Anderson Cancer Center in Gilbert, Arizona. It's part of a large health care system called Banner Health, headquartered out of Phoenix, Arizona. We have about 28 hospitals or so it's a very large health system. One thing I really like about the Banner Health System is the education that we have here for our nurses and other employees that come aboard Banner. And all the years I've worked as a registered nurse and also as a naval officer, it's one of the best education systems that I've ever seen. And we have some quite dedicated nurse educators. So I'm very blessed to work around some forward-thinking leaders at Banner Health System. So it's quite a blessing to work here.
Yeah, and it's no surprise, and you talk about this, obviously a giving person as being a registered nurse in your business and whatnot. And so now we go to the story in the book, Sapphire, A Life That Almost Wasn't. I mentioned it before. You can pick it up on Amazon. Tell us about Sapphire and what happened to this cat that you ended up adopting and you talk about in your book.
Yeah, well, the book, it was it was probably about a January, February timeframe. It was unseasonably cold in Jacksonville, Florida that year. We had quite a cold snap, and it was about 36 degrees, I believe. My janitor went out to empty the trash in a dumpster, and as he opened the lid, he heard this faint meowing coming from the dumpster. So he looked around the dumpster thinking that there was a larger cat that was around there, but he said it sounded like a kitten because it was so faint. So he couldn't find it, so he put the lid down, started to walk away and looked down that he hadn't emptied all the trash. So he went back, opened the lid up, and he heard it again. So he emptied the trash, but he looked to his right and he saw a small, tiny box that had been intentionally taped. So he picked the box up, shook it gently, and he heard this meow from there. So he brought the box back into my school, and I happened to be working late with my school nurse. Her name was Nurse Sue, and we all sat down on the floor as we opened this box, and it had been taped multiple times. So we got it open, and these two tiny little kittens that had to have been born earlier in the day were in the box. They were shivering so hard. I ran into my laundry room in my school and took out small towels, heated them up in the microwave, put the cats on them. And then my school nurse took a couple of syringes. I heated up some warm milk, and we fed these cats. These cats fell asleep, stopped shivering. So we all looked at each other and said, okay, who gets them? So I said, I'll take them home. So I brought them home to my home, and little did I know that every 2 hours to every hour and a half, I was up feeding these cats and warming up towels to keep them warm. This went on for a couple of weeks. I took them to my vet the next day, and he said that he believed they would make it. And he told me they had to be fed actual formula milk, specially made for kittens, and that I had to keep them at a certain temperature. So I did that for several weeks. Then my school nurse would take them for several weeks. So she and I went back and forth for months with this, taking care of these cats. And then they got to the point where they needed to be spayed and neutered, which I had done, and I had all their immunizations. And one of my employees came to me and she said, "Miss Blitch, I'd really love to have one of these cats." And I said, "You have to promise to keep it for its life. You have to promise to keep it in your home. I don't want it running free because, you know, cats like to get out into the road and they get hit." She said, "That's fine." So she took that cat. Then nobody wanted Sapphire at that point. So Sapphire was home with me, and I was in another room, and I kept hearing her hitting walls and furniture. So I went in there, I picked her up, and I took my fingers and I put them in front of her eyes, and she would not blink. But then again, she didn't really have eyelids. So I took her to the vet, and the vet said, "You know what? I agree with you. I think she's blind." So I had to read up a lot on taking care of a blind cat and the things that I needed to do. But that has not been her limitation whatsoever. This cat is amazing. Nobody would adopt her because she's blind, so then I decided to keep her. She will absolutely find ledges in my home that I know she does not know are there. There is no way she could know that. And I had her out on the lanai one night, and there was a fly, and you could see her intently listening to this fly. She reaches out with her two front paws and captures this fly in her two front paws. I can move her food from one side of the house to the other side, and she'll find it. So she is an amazing cat. Her life is amazing. And just to watch her every day. And you know what's interesting, Kate? I read a quote a number of years ago, and this was kind of the encouragement for me to write this book, was by Mahatma Gandhi, where he said the greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. And it's so true. And nowadays, because kids are so bombarded with the devaluing of life, I wanted to put this book out there just so that children could understand that every life has value. That value may not have significance to someone else, but it certainly has value to someone. And Sapphire's life had value to me. So she's been an amazing cat, an absolutely amazing cat. I received great reviews on my book. I'm currently writing a sequel to her book, talking a little bit about the surgery that we had to do to her eyes because she didn't have eyelids. I take her to the vet, and the vet said, "Well, I'm not sure what to do about eyelids." I said, "Well, she's got to have something. She's got to close them." So I said, "How about taking some tissue from her abdomen and let's create some eyelids?" So that's what he did. So she has quasi-functioning eyelids, but at least they're functioning where she can close her eyes. So, like I said, her life has value, and she's been an amazing cat for me.
Wow.
Absolutely
wow.
amazing.
What a story. And again, I want to tell everyone to go to Amazon, pick up the book, Sapphire, A Life That Almost Wasn't. And that's a perfect title for this because, as you mentioned, Lorrie, that you want children to know that all life has value and not to just abandon that. I think that's a beautiful sentiment. We have a couple of minutes left, and you nailed that equation of why get the book. But I would say it's not just for children, and I hope that this message spreads to even broader and beyond that. What do you hope the ultimate takeaway is besides that for people who read the book?
Well, other than just the value of life, that because something is blind or has a special needs, that its life also, they can have great value and they can also live a fulfilling life, much like Sapphire. Her blindness does not limit her whatsoever. She uses her other senses to overcome that blindness. So just because she's a special needs does not make her life any less valuable.
So well said. And I hope so many people listen to this and also understand the value of cats. You and I mentioned that sometimes I think cats, because there might be a little bit of a preference for dogs, get neglected. And obviously Sapphire is incredibly, incredibly special. Tell us more about Sapphire. How old is Sapphire?
She's 11 years old. I was a little concerned that she wasn't going to be a very large cat. She was going to be a very small cat. But actually, she has turned around with proper nutrition and care. She has, I think she's about 11 pounds. I just had her at the vet a couple of weeks ago for her updated shots. But I think she's 11 pounds now. And she's a happy cat. She's a total indoor cat, obviously, because she's blind. But she's the sweetest cat. I have another cat, Cashmere's his name. And he is also, I got him from the Humane Society, and he likes to beat up on her a little bit, but she holds her own.
Oh, I can just picture that. So once again, let's bring it back home. Sapphire, a life that almost wasn't. You can get it on Amazon, and it's just a beautiful story. It'd be great for gift giving too, because in fact, that's exactly what I did. And you think about it, we're going through Valentine's Day, and then we run into Easter and other holidays, and it's just absolutely terrific. I love your story, Lorrie Blitch. Thank you so much for joining us, and good luck in the future with all your endeavors.
Great. Well, thank you for having me on your show.